Okay, in this video, I'd like to talk about point sourcing space versus counter space, or making magnetism go against dielectricity in order to cause rotation. This is how all the planets are being driven in the solar system, and this is how UFOs are rotating at high speed. So let's get started. Okay, to understand this, you have to understand that you only have two dimensions. You have space and you have counter space. Space would be everything in visible light. This is magnetism represented by the toroid. Counter space, or pure ether or dielectricity, is represented by the shape of this hourglass here. This is the hyperboloid. This is the toroid. So you have these two shapes, and what you want to do is make them go to war with each other. So you want to make the fields go into a warring situation where they're fighting each other. In order to do this, you need to cause stress or strain. So the tetrahedron has zero stress, zero strain, and it represents harmony. This represents pure potential, pure ether, and this represents stress or strain in visible matter. So here you have visible matter, here you have space, here you have counter space, which is at a zero, and here's the plane of inertia in between. So you want to basically cause stress or strain at the 0 point in the tetrahedron. The cube represents everlasting stress and strain, because this is life, this is time, this is matter. This has a beginning and an end. This has no time. This is the event horizon between space and counter space. So what you're trying to do is, where the triangle would usually be static, you're trying to put strain into it, into the tetrahedron. So this is how you do it. It's no different than Sandy Kid doing his experiments with his gyroscope. As soon as he would get rotation, the gyroscope would want to lift up. So this is how the whole thing is working. I have made a magnet using 4 separate magnets here. So this magnet here, this magnet would represent counter space, or rest. Zero strain, zero stress. Where this magnet on this rotor would represent strain, because these polarities in these two sets of magnets are repelling each other, and they're glued down to the board. So there's intense stress or strain, like a spring wound up right there. That's pure. It's waiting just to be unlocked. So when you war the two fields against each other, you get rotation. And it's no different than how UFOs are operating their craft. When I get this in the right position and pump the two fields against each other, creating a pulse or a perturbation in the ether, then you will get your rotation pump. And when you get it locked in the complete right spot, it'll go on like that as long as you correctly pump the field. There it goes. Now it's locked in. Now it'll go the same way every time. And that's how you keep it going. So that's how you get the high speed spin out of a disc. Once you start that disk rotating, the velocities that it can reach are maybe immeasurable. So you're just warring, like I said, space versus counter space. You're taking the magnetism and going against the ether or the dielectricity. You're taking the dielectricity and going against the magnetism. So this would represent counter space. This would represent space. You're just fighting them, and it causes rotation. When you get high enough rotation, you can break the rotation of the Earth. That's how you cause liftoff. So that's how this whole 0 point thing is working. And I've figured this out. Nobody else has come up with anything close to this. These are N52 Gauss. They're super powerful. And it just lies in the geometry. The power lies in the geometry. And it's no different than how they're producing weather fronts and causing them to war against each other to get a high and a low pressure. You're just extracting between the high and the low. You're extracting out that differential and you're pulling the power out of there. So that's how this whole thing's working with the torsion fields, or what science would call the time field. It's the same thing. So if you haven't seen my other videos, please check them out. Thanks for watching.